Hey everybody, welcome along to the Monkey Barrel Comedy Chat Show, the official Monkey Barrel Comedy podcast. There's other ones out there, but I've never watched them. I've never watched them. I don't know. But thank you for coming in. We have a wonderful guest this week. Obviously, every week we have wonderful guests, comedians who are joining us here at Monkey Barrel Comedy to perform. And this week we have the wonderful Milo Edwards. Everybody.
Hello. I'm pleased to be on the official Monkey Barrel podcast now. So I was previously on a podcast that was hosted by both a barrel and a monkey, but was not in any way affiliated with the Monkey
I hate
Barrel
that
Comedy
monkey.
Club.
I hate that barrel.
I know, they're stealing your thunder.
They're so charming, the pair of them.
Yeah.
And their Patreon's going through the roof. It's a nightmare for me.
Yeah.
So Milo,
they're in the employ of the stand. They're in the pocket of Big Stand. They've been sent to undermine you.
They seem very gleeful. Oh God, how
Monkeys
dare
always are. Okay, here, cards on the table straight away. I fucking hate monkeys. Sometimes some people are like, "Oh, monkeys are cute."
Yeah.
No, least cute animal. Fucked vibes.
Very much dependent on what type of a monkey it is. I feel like a small, like a capuchin monkey, that's not going to do anything. But the monkeys that like sometimes just get to a certain age and go, I need to eat human faces. Those ones are
chimps.
a nightmare.
I hate, chimps are pretty bad, but also small monkeys I don't like. I actually think the bigger, it's apes I don't mind.
Yeah.
Like a gorilla or something. There's a certain stateliness to a gorilla. I'm like, okay, I respect that. That's a guy. I'm fine with that. But like the little monkeys, like fucking, like we went to like the monkey forest in Bali, and they're just like running around like fucking, trying to pull shit out. You have putting your hat off and stuff. I'm like, no, they're like agile toddlers. Like I don't need that in my
out
life.
too quick. I've seen them like open people's wallets and get their keys out, and then skim their card, and then go on the internet and buy stuff. Incredibly.
Yeah, they'll steal your identity.
Oh, so
you know those scam emails? You know why the spelling and grammar is so bad? It's because they're actually being sent by monkeys.
Yeah. The amount of times old ladies in this country are getting called up, they're like, hello. And on the other end, they hear, oh.
Yeah.
My PIN code? Yeah, sure. They give it away.
Well, that's if they haven't heard what you said, old people, their first instinct is just to read out their PIN number because they're like, well, that's probably what they are.
Probably what it is, and it's the easiest way to get the person to go away, which is all they want. They just want to be left alone. And monkeys have just figured that out.
Yeah.
And barrels? Come on, barrels.
It doesn't feel like something you need in modern life, a barrel.
We've got boxes now. We've figured it out. They stack better. Barrels, you're wasting so much space. You put 4 barrels together, there's a little bit in the middle, all wasted.
Yeah, isn't that crazy that they sell oil by the barrel? That feels it feels like something that they would have done in like the 1700s.
Yeah.
Like why is the barrel the unit? Like how big is a fucking barrel?
A cube surely is better for transporting. We're going to get so many people from the Reddit oil industry coming in here now to explain to us, actually.
Your listeners in Aberdeen, your offshore listeners are going to be furious about this.
Live it. But thankfully, they're only on land for 3 days every 6 months, so I just avoid them.
Yeah, they're a helicopter ride away. We're safe from them for now.
So, Milo, something we like to do with our comedians is this podcast is kind of like a Christmas Carol, and where we jump around through time. So we're going to do the Ghost of Christmas Comedy Past, and we're going to ask you, do you remember what the first joke you ever wrote was, or the first one that you can kind of confidently remember?
What is the first joke that I can confidently remember? I guess the first joke I did, aside from like jokes in sort of like, I guess, very early sets that didn't go anywhere, I used to have a routine about Britain's Got Talent, the show, which actually ended up being broadcast on TV in Russia many years later.
Really?
Yeah, because I watched an episode of Britain's Got Talent, this must be like 15 or more years ago now, where a guy came on stage and he had an owl on his shoulder. And then he said, the first words that came out of his mouth were, "This is by far my most talented owl." And I remember watching this and then like the audience and the judges being like, oh, I misjudged this man. Mm-hmm. At first, I thought he was some kind of lunatic, but now he said this is his most talented owl, so I presume we're going to be in for a good time.
There's been a process that's occurred here.
Yeah.
There's people that he'd had to say no to.
Exactly.
Numerous owls. So this is going to be great.
Whereas what I'm thinking is, this is a man who owns more than one owl. And what's more, has some kind of ranking system to determine which of those owls is the most talented. I don't know what's going on in this man's house. It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like, it's the appropriate oversized being. This guy's kind of like Owl Fritzl. Like, I'm not sure what's happening there.
My first thought is, what is happening to the other owls? Like, when they don't do what you want, are they fine? Or are those owls released? What happens?
Yeah. Are the owls in a sort of? Is it a bit like the?
Is there a barrel full of owls?
they're like those like East German gymnasts or whatever. Like they're not they're not allowed to see their family. They're kept in there. They're training. Well, they clearly weren't training because this owl, he tried to get to fly through a hoop and it didn't fly through a hoop, and that was pretty much the end of the.
So
and raising the question of how bad are the other owls?
How bad are the other owls?
Yeah, and now we're getting into the shape of the routine.
How long did that person last? Did they?
I think it was like a minute or two because there was like a fair bit of chaos with the owl. Like it was sort of entertaining chaos. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how do you become an owl guy?
Yeah, is it through Harry Potter? Could it be that way?
Oh, maybe.
The avenue of that, where people are like, oh, I like Harry Potter. Oh, I like owls.
It really put owls on the map, Harry Potter.
Yeah, or he just likes woodland shrews, likes eating them, and just was like, man, I could just be as good as an owl.
Guy who hates voles. I have a natural ally in the owl because I loathe the vole. I find it to be a disgusting creature.
And I'm there with him as well. I mean, if there was a vole barrel comedy podcast, I would hate it even more.
Yeah. We could get a lot of voles in a barrel.
So many, and their faces. They have one of the most unique faces, I think, voles, don't they?
Do they?
They have that little like starfish bit on the end of their nose that they kind of. Is that right? Am I thinking of a vole?
Isn't that a star-nosed mole?
That could be a star-nosed mole. Let's see. Ewan? Google it.
It's get you're drunk with power. You can tell a man to Google something.
Tell someone to Google something. I'm like,
it's like Ask Jeeves back in the day.
Let's see what a vole looks like and get it up on screen. I bet it's not going to be what I'm imagining. I think what you described as it's not what I was thinking of at all.
So they're quite cute actually.
They're fine.
I don't loathe the vole. I think the vole is actually quite.
Now that I'm
adorable.
seeing it, I'm actually more on board. Now Ewan is turning on the television. We're gonna watch an episode of Murder, She Wrote.
Okay.
And then we're gonna talk about did she secretly do the killing?
Yeah. Could you get Angela Lansbury in a barrel?
I think
alive. I should add. That sounded a bit.
I think she's did, but she's committed to the bit. I think as an actress, she's committed to it. Especially you go to her and she'd be like, "Oh, get into this," and she'd be like, "Oh, I don't know," and you go, Dick Van Dyke did it yesterday, and that would get her in. That's the one thing. She's like, "I'll get her in." Don't know about Dick Van Dyke. You're not getting me.
Yeah. He's just diagnosing murder. He's not even treating it. Come on.
To be fair, she's just writing about it. Nobody's expecting her to solve these crimes. They're just like, yeah, write a story about it. Let it get out. And she's like, I'll solve it as well.
It makes more sense that she would solve the crime than Dick Van Dyke in his capacity as a hospital doctor.
Yeah, that's true.
How he's even getting involved with these cases is deeply unclear.
It's deeply illegal as well. It's like, we just found out that you've been accessing autopsy information and all this kind of. This isn't allowed. You're not allowed to have this information.
No, I haven't. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. So has your writing process changed a lot from back then versus now? Early days?
I presume so. It's hard to remember. I feel like probably back in the day I didn't really have a writing process.
I think we all just kind of fumble around in the dark and slowly figure it out.
I would throw shit at the wall and see what stuck, which I guess in a way is what I'm doing now, but with a little bit more, I have a little bit more sense of what I'm doing.
A bit more confidence in it. You're like, I know what I'm doing. I know when it works and when it doesn't. You know what it feels like. You're like, I'm confident in this. I'm not as confident in that.
And I know what it feels like when I'm confident in something and I get up there and I'm like, oh, no, actually, that was wrong. Shouldn't have been confident in that. They hated it.
Sometimes
they hated it.
You go on stage and you do something and an audience doesn't go for it and you just think, you're wrong. I'm going to do this again. And sometimes you just go, you're 100% right, guys.
You're absolutely right.
Absolutely right.
As soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like, no, that's not right. That's not right at all. Yeah, I mean, I think, well, the weird thing about comedy is you do sort of get better at it, but also you never really gain any confidence, I feel. No. Like the more I go on, the more I'm like, I actually still don't know how to do it.
It's kind of doing the same thing, but just better results.
It's
very similar to the early days.
With an identical degree of panic and concern at all times. And then the only thing, someone actually, I was doing the shows here last night and these two girls like burst into the dressing room. I think by accident they were looking for the toilet and they thought it was the toilet. And then they were like, but we liked your set. And then they were like, oh, do you get really nervous before you go on stage? And I was like, no, that is actually the one thing that I don't do. Yeah. But everything else, I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing.
Of course.
I hate to break this for the audience. Like that they're thinking like, oh, these guys, they've got a whole system. Yeah.
This is someone that if they walked out on stage with an owl, that owl would go through the hoop.
Yeah.
You're
Like a
owl, if you
puppet
have-
owl, like a sort of Keith and Orville situation.
And it flies through and it jumps onto Dermot O'Leary's face, or I don't know, some ITV celebrity.
Yeah.
Lands on them. They hate it. It's great.
Guy who does Who Let the Dogs Out with an owl, and it's like, there
That's
you go.
great.
Yeah.
I like that.
That'd
I like
work on
that.
Britain's Got Talent. That'd probably win.
Well, that's our Ghost of Christmas Past. It's now time for a Ghost of, I guess, recent present. Not right now.
Okay.
But we're going to see.
Because now it basically is Christmas.
We're going to see the version of you that you put out into the world. We're going to do a little Instagram deep dive. We're going to do this social media time machine. We've got a post from the last while that we're going to bring up on screen. People at home watching can see this. So we'll throw it up on screen now. You'll have to tell us about it. So this is from the 20th of August, 2023. For the people who are listening, not watching, this is you obviously at the Edinburgh Fringe in front of your poster. And there's
thought there'd be more likes on that. Disappointing.
Yeah.
That's honestly, you're putting me on blast here. That's
Well, there's your poster.
I like from Chris MacArthur Boyd though. I mean, it's good to see that some of the big names are
Chris
chiming in.
MacArthur Boyd will do anything to get on this podcast. Liking every comedian's posts just to get on. Come on, CMB.
Just love Milo's posts, man. They're great. I can't get enough of his posts, man. He's great. Great on Instagram. I like the guy.
Wow. Can we just do that for the rest of the stream? The rest of this show, just do this. Oh,
I've got an owl on one hand and Chris MacArthur Boyd on the other, and I'm doing this kind of insane vaudeville.
Who let the dogs out?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love it. Just Mambo number 5, Chris MacArthur Boyd. Love it. Want to hear that. Want to feel that as well. So this was during Fringe 2023. Can you explain to us what is going on in this photo?
This is me and my girlfriend in boiler suits, because at that Fringe I was doing a show here at Monkey Bell called Sentimental, where at the end I had this whole story that took place at a branch of Quick Fit.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be really funny to have people then act this out at the end, because the joke was that, like, basically I'd accidentally created the greatest Quick Fit ad of all time with this just anecdote about Quick Fit. And so we had these boiler suits and people would come on the stage every day. I had like this, my director was somehow organized this
During the show.
chaotic, like, rotating cast of people coming on and acting this out, because no one could do it every day. So she was the master of, like, the world's most hellish spreadsheet, trying to make sure there were, like, people there, 4 people there every day to do it. So, like, you'd have, like, some overlap, and then people would be, like, coming in playing different roles on different days, and, like,
I guess the comedians were obviously doing it so they could plug their show at the end. And
we had some comedians, but we had a lot more like kind of sketch people and like
that's great.
Just sort of whoever was about. We had a couple of like theater people.
Sketch and theatre people, let's be honest, if you need anything done, they're better to ask.
Yeah,
Getting
they're
comedians
keener
to do stuff, they're too in their head.
Yeah. And they're less hungover than comedians. I think.
They're professional. That's the word we're looking for. They turn up and they're like,
as the Fringe went on, there were more comedians who wanted to do it because people had, like, heard about it and whatever. But then my mate, the Australian comedian Dan Muggleton, really wanted to do it on the last day.
Yeah.
But then on the last day, he was so hungover, like more hungover than I've ever seen a man be. And he was sat, because he came in and then he was sat at the back of the room with my girlfriend, and he's there, and apparently he's just like really suffering. And then at a certain point he looks up at her and he goes, we're mates, right? and then she's like, yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, could you just stroke my head? And then so she just stroked his head until it was time for him to go on. Yeah.
I just need to be held for a moment.
Yeah. It's also funny to see him in a vulnerable place, because he is the world's most curmudgeonly man.
And when this happened, was he wearing the Quick Fit uniform, sitting at the back waiting to go on and do it?
He, in this sketch, was actually playing me. So he was, someone had given him my yellow North Face fleece to wear in an attempt to look. It's something which would not be legible to the audience as being like me, but would be funny for comedians, I guess, because I was often wearing that at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I think there were 2 people playing Quick Fit, and that hence there's the 2 costumes there, and then there'd be like, there were various other roles to be played. But yeah, he was playing the role of me. I mean, a great role. Role of a lifetime, some
and
would
he was
say.
committed to it. He was like talking to your girlfriend, like, "Can you please rub my head?" I think that's what Milo would want right now.
Yeah,
Milo
I think that is
like
what
this.
he would want. Yeah. And I agree. Look, you've got to, at the end of the day, you've got to keep the cast happy.
Yes, 100%. So I think that's, sometimes people have embarrassing ones. I think that's a perfectly legitimate one. Would you keep that up?
Yeah.
Did you delete that from the
Yeah,
internet?
no, I think that's fine.
That's good. We've had weird ones. We've had ones with people pointing a gun in a dog's face. That was one we had before. Stuart Law, shout out.
putting a gun in a monkey's face. Now we're talking.
We're on board.
Yeah,
now that's
yeah.
a T-shirt that you print out and sell,
Yeah.
and they sell out every time you print them.
Well, actually, in the monkey forest in Bali, the way they would stop the monkeys from attacking you was they had like little attendants there who just had catapults.
No,
And they would just threaten the monkey with it, and the monkey would be like, "Yeah, fair enough. I'll fuck off. Yeah, okay, yeah, you got me. Don't fucking shoot me with the thing. I
gotta try. All right.
Yeah,
If I don't try, and my wife sees me not trying, I'm gonna get it in the neck.
He had a hat.
So.
I wanted to take it. He had a bag of nuts. What do you want from me? Yeah.
He had a little pocket. I wanted to put my tiny hands in and feel around in there and go, ooh, and then run away. That's my favorite thing to do.
I don't like it. Your monkey impression's quite like Mickey Mouse.
Is it?
Ho 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 ho.
Well, we were doing Goofy impressions on the stream for our previous episode with John Luke Roberts, like, and I was just saying, horrible version of Goofy. Nightmare Goofy.
Yeah, I can
just
see
terrible. I think it was men's activist Goofy we did, which God was just a nightmare.
Goofy, but he's dressed up as Batman and hanging off a crane. Yeah.
Goofy's like, I just want a trad wife, which is people who don't know is this movement for like, I guess it's men who I just want a wife that just is in the kitchen and
it's very odd.
No, it's very odd. It's very odd to be like, I'd like a time machine, but also a robot.
Women use sex to get what they want. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like just clipping me saying that in the Goofy voice would be I think one of the most baffling
bit that will absolutely be edited out of the last.
Yeah. Imagine getting cancelled for saying something, but you were saying it in the Goofy voice.
Yes,
that would be.
That's what my worry was from last week's episode because I was doing with John Luke Roberts and I was telling about how I was annoying my girlfriend by doing that voice and I tried. I was like, look, I was trying to go on the fringes of too far with the joke and I thought, could I say that horrible phrase, your body, my choice, that people tweeted out? Would the Goofy voice be enough to make that not awful? And it was not. It was not enough.
Your body, Goofy.
I looked
voice.
up and I just went, your body, my choice. And I had to save by going, on my choices, whatever you want to do. Still didn't say it. Still didn't say it. It was still like, it still feels awful. I'm trying to
pro-life.
I'm trying to attack this thing, but I'm so jaunty about it that I don't feel. Please don't clip that. Anybody?
The Goofy voice is sort of a way of like actually watermarking when you're saying something cancelable because like no one could ever take it seriously because you're saying it in the Goofy voice. It's almost like immunizing yourself against it being clipped because you're just like if it ever comes up, you're like, well, I was doing the Goofy voice.
I was being silly.
No one's ever done the Goofy voice while saying something that they mean seriously.
If Greg Wallace had just come out and say, these complaints are coming from middle-aged women of a certain age, you'd be like, well, he's being silly. He doesn't mean that.
What's the problem for someone who just likes to hook?
We're becoming Jerry Seinfeld now.
What's the deal? Yeah.
I had school to date a 17-year-old girl when you're 39. All right, Jerry.
You went very southern there.
It did.
I'm Southern Seinfeld.
I'm not like these big city goofies. Those little strings. So we have questions from John Luke Roberts from last week.
Okay.
John has sent in 3 questions for you. A thing to keep in mind is every time we send out our email to comedians, we see how long it takes them to get back to us. So, John, we filmed that episode a day ago. So we're just going to see. So it's going to be obviously less than 24 hours. How long do you think it took John to send in this clip? Now, the thing is, we'll watch the clip first. Then you'll get an idea, and then we'll ask you to give an answer. So let's take a look at John Luke Roberts' 3 questions first, everybody.
Hello, it's John Luke Roberts. I'm next to a waterfall in Cramond in Edinburgh, where I've been staying. And I've got 3 questions for Milo Edwards. The first question, and they're going to be nice questions, which are easy to answer. The first question is, how do you like your eggs cooked, if you like eggs? The second question is, I've forgotten the second question, but the third question is learning in and of itself a good thing? And the second question is, have you ever met a hero, and what was it like?
Thank you.
Danielle.
Thank you, John Luke Roberts. Okay, so first things first. How long do you think it took?
I presume that was one take.
I presume so.
If that was the best of several takes, you how long did that?
What you don't know is there's an owl flying off in the distance around, and John's like very tense about it.
What I do appreciate is that there was a lot of honesty there, because he didn't just pretend that question 3 was question 2. He acknowledged that he'd forgotten question 2 and circled back. He thought it was important that the order of the questions was known.
Look, if anyone's going to play with the format, it's going to be John Luke Roberts, and I like that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. That looked like it was recorded in the morning, I would say. So when did you record the podcast?
Yesterday evening.
Okay.
Well, yesterday, like maybe 3.
Okay, right. So I reckon maybe about 8 hours from when you recorded the podcast.
Okay. Do you have an answer for us, Claire?
Yeah. About 20 hours.
About 20 hours?
But you had all the facts there to get it. Like, we recorded it at 3 yesterday, but you thought it was in the morning. But 8 hours after 3 is like 1 a.m.
Oh yeah, that's really stupid.
I know, but I had,
sorry. So here's what happened.
I can't help the guests. I gotta let you make your mistakes.
When I was thinking, for some reason I thought that 3 the next day would be 12 hours. When obviously that's not right. That would be 24 hours. Yeah. And so when you were inhabiting my brain, what I said made perfect sense.
I could see it happening,
to the
but I was like,
external world.
To other, if I'd helped you, other comedians would be like, you didn't help me when I was doing mine. So to be fair.
You know what's crazy is I'm actually quite good at maths, but I regularly just turn my brain off when attempting something mathematical. I let the arts part of my brain have a go at it, and I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that.
Just have a go. Just see. I will say it was very creative. I did like that.
Yeah.
I would, if I was a teacher, I would put a sticker on it and I would say, nice try. I liked it.
Yeah.
So question number 1 was, how do you like your eggs cooked? If you even like eggs.
Yeah.
So first of all, do you like eggs?
I thought he was going to say, if you like them cooked.
Yeah. Just raw eggs, Rocky style.
Yeah.
Just cracking them into your own mouth.
I prefer my eggs fertilized. That's right. Because I prefer chicken. I don't know. I'm pretty open to all kinds of eggs. I like I like a scrambled in its place. I do like a soft boiled. I'm not a massive fan of a hard boiled.
Giant ostrich egg. Would you go for that?
Never had one.
You said all eggs. Gotta take it.
No, I mean types of cooking of eggs.
Types of cooking,
not types of eggs.
Oh, okay, all right.
I mean, I'm sure an ostrich egg is fine though. I don't see it.
Do you think it makes a giant fried egg? Surely it would.
Yeah, presumably. Yeah,
Presumably.
I mean, we'd have to ask Fabergé, I guess. He must have been doing something with the innards of the eggs that he was using.
Had to be. Wasn't just getting rid of that.
Yeah.
I love the idea that he just loved eggs that much.
Yeah,
That he was just like, I need to come up with an idea.
Got to do something with the shell. Yeah. If you were having brunch near the Tsar's Winter Palace in the 1800s, oh boy, could you get a deal on scrambled eggs?
I mean, the poor people nearby were so full of eggs.
Yeah.
Just giving eggs to the community. It's way too much.
The proletarian farts in that area were pretty terrible. Yeah.
How do you like your eggs cooked? There's no specific. You'll take eggs cooked.
I think probably that my 3 go-tos would probably be like fried, scrambled, or like a kind of like a poached. I don't like a hard-boiled egg.
No.
Not hugely keen on an over easy either, because I feel like the point of a fried egg is that the yolk is still a bit runny.
What's your opinion on a century egg? Those eggs that have been.
Oh yeah, don't like that.
No, I don't like that at all.
Don't like that.
Not a fan of that. I don't know why that's a thing.
No,
that we're still. Don't do it. Don't do it. Every time I see someone eats it, they don't have a great time.
I feel like for me that Chinese food is interesting because there's a certain kind of like Anglo-Chinese food that I hate. The kind of Chinese restaurant where you can get chips, not for me. Yeah. I don't like. My girlfriend's family are like a Chinese with chips type family, and the Chinese I can't eat it. I'm like, this is some kind of. I find like curry is much more consistent. Yeah. Even a bad Indian is like not that bad, but a bad Chinese is fucking dog shit.
Oh yeah, it can go really wrong.
And then I quite like an authentic Chinese, but you can't go too authentic. I can't, like century egg chicken feet. Like I'm not doing that. So for me, it's about finding the biting point.
Like, oh god.
Yeah. Usually, it's about going to an authentic one and just being careful with what you order. That's generally my.
Like looking at the person who's taking your order's face and just being like, Do people like me sometimes order this and have a bad time? Can you tell me?
Yeah,
Am I ordering something that it's going to panic me in a minute? Is that what's going to happen?
Sometimes they'll tell you that, which I do I do kind of enjoy. They're like, no, that's not for you.
Yes.
Don't order that.
Yes. Very much appreciate that. I'm never offended them. I was like, thank you so much.
That happened to me once in Stoke-on-Trent. Not with Chinese, but where I was there, and a mate of mine had moved there, and he had this cousin who lived there who was a builder, and we met up with him, and I was like, oh, the pints are a bit cheaper up here, and he sort of leaned in conspiratorial, and he went, mate, there's a place in Stoke you could get a pint for £2.80. Mind you, son, it's not for you. Oh, it's not even for me. I was like, I appreciate that warning.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't come out alive of that pub.
He knows someone that tried and they're not around anymore.
Yeah,
He's this is a warning. That's good.
You've got to be a hard man to go drinking in that pub.
For 2 pints. For £2, I should say. Question number 2 was, have you ever met a hero and what was it like?
Yeah, I don't know. Do I have any heroes? This is the bigger question.
It's weird to have a hero, I think,
Yeah.
as an adult nowadays.
Yeah, I don't think.
I mean, as a child, you probably have lots of heroes, and then you grow up, and a lot of them were probably cancelled, or you discovered they weren't as good as we thought they once were.
Yeah, because I think I just like live in the expectation that people are flawed.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of this. I find it so funny when like people like they like a song or whatever, and then they're like, oh, but he said something about politics that I don't agree with. And it's just like, were you working to the assumption that because you liked someone's song, you like they had a completely like agreeable set of views to you, or like, well, I find that fascinating. Like whether or not you think you can continue to listen to them after that or whatever, but it's just so funny to be like under the illusion that like, I cannot believe that he would say that about the polyamorous community. I liked George Ezra before this.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, to be fair, if you like George Ezra, that's on you. That is nursery rhymes for adults.
Oh no, we're going for George Ezra fans today.
I'm not worried about the George Ezra fans. I feel like George Ezra fans are all stuck in toilet cubicles. Like I can't imagine how the average George Ezra fan goes about. Who is a George Ezra fan? If you're a George Ezra fan, write in, because I am fascinated. I'm a truther.
Well, they don't need to write in because we've got George Ezra. Come on in.
Come on in. And he's going to sing Wheels on the Bus for us, or whatever his new song is called.
So you don't think you've like I know what you mean about that expectation. I remember being a kid and liking the professional wrestler The Undertaker, and he recently did his podcast with Donald Trump while wearing his Blue Lives Matter T-shirt, and there's just I thought you were an undead wizard as a child. Now I find out this, but I still was just like, yeah, whatever. Like
it's very funny to be because also it's like the guy is a wrestler called The Undertaker. It would be kind of weird if he had left-wing views.
Well, you say that Stone Cold Steve Austin's very left wing and chill, which was surprising.
Is he?
Yeah.
Interesting.
In that very like guy way of just like, if you're a guy and you want to marry another guy, I think that's okay, brother. And you're like, okay, okay.
I respect that.
I respect it. Open up a can of celebration at your wedding. Like he seems very, very.
Well, he
chill
sort
about
of views like gay sex as kind of a subset of wrestling. Like he says, I can get, Lord knows, a lot of the stuff I've done in my career could be considered a bit gay. So let's just say fair enough.
That guy's finisher is incredible.
We've all done a pile driver in our time.
So question number 3 was, is learning in and of itself a good thing? It's quite a deep question.
Depends what you're learning, I guess. But
Yeah.
I think on the whole, I think you could say yes. I mean, if you're...
I guess the process of learning, of banging your head against that wall before you eventually figure out how to get through, or how to do this thing you're trying to do, or learn how to do this thing, or learn you can't do that thing. I understand that's frustrating, but you know, you gotta do that to get to the end benefit of knowledge.
Yeah. There's some. Yeah, I think that learning is a generally a positive experience. I mean, if you're memorizing Mein Kampf, you might ask yourself why you're doing that. But I think generally speaking, so sometimes there is stuff where I'm just like, oh, why are you bothering? You know, when you just meet someone and they're like learning Danish, and you're like, why are you doing that? Like learning a language, great, but Danish, really? And I have nothing against the nation of Denmark. It's just like there's like 4 of them.
Can I say something about Denmark?
And they all speak English.
Can I say something about them?
Yep.
huge George Ezra fans in Denmark. He's working on their national anthem.
We love George Ezra. I'm going to be riding shotgun on the little bike that I ride to the work. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know Christopher MacArthur Boyd liked George Ezra.
I just love George Ezra, man. He's great. I can't get over it.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. Thank you
The
very
green,
much,
green
John Luke
grass,
Roberts. Thank you for the questions, John Luke Roberts. You'll, of course, be leaving questions
Yeah.
for our next guest.
I
And we
will.
come to my
Within
favorite
8
part.
hours.
Within 8 hours. I've come to my favorite part of the show. This is a new section of the show that we came up with on our last episode where basically we're going to pick some cards. I'm going to give you 3 cards. I'm going to have 3 cards here. Each of the cards has a different ick written on it.
Oh, okay.
And we have to guess. You have to pick one. And then we'll take your one and my one and we'll present them to producer Claire. And
Okay.
we'll see if Claire has one of those icks. One of us will win a point. So it's going to be me
Oh,
versus the
okay.
guest. So already I think I have 1 point and I think John Luke Roberts has 2 points because you can get double points if it's an ick that Claire does. If it's a thing that Claire does. So
Ooh.
we've already mixed all these up.
That's
so-
interesting. Like the hypocritical ick. Like it would be an ick for you, but you do also do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
get extra
yeah.
points for that. So there's your 3 cards. Take a look
Okay.
at those. I'll take a look at my 3 cards and we'll try and pick something.
Because they've got stuff on both sides.
Yes,
so-
you can pick from either side. So you have 6 options
Okay,
all
all right.
together. Oh, these are pretty good. Oh,
Some of these I'm like, this is pretty reasonable. I mean,
yes,
that's
some of them definitely
heinous.
are. Oh,
That's
these are
also
good.
pretty bad. One of these is so like a fucking ick that my girlfriend would have. We always joke that like her icks are like really unreasonable.
Yeah.
Like she once saw a man blow out a candle and like a little bit of the wax splashed back on him, and she was like, I just could never look at him again after that. And I'm just like, that's so brutal. But like, I've got one here that says, seeing them run for the bus and still miss it. That is absolutely the sort of
Absolutely.
thing that would be an ick for my girlfriend, but I feel like wouldn't be an ick for almost anyone else.
It's very, very specific, but I
Yeah,
kind of
you've got to be on your guard around her. You can't be like running for a bus or anything like that.
I mean, the thing with the ick is it's something that's specific enough that you go, oh no, but it's also general enough that
Yeah,
you do
yeah,
see
yeah.
it. It's like a normal thing that all of us have done. That's the hurt of it.
Yeah. Also, some of these I feel like are just really revealing the person who created the game has like what happened to you. Like they say this was on Glee whenever they hear a song performed on Glee. Like what? Like who hurt you? Like what? What specific personal beef are you exercising with this card game?
It should have a name on it, like, oh, they're in a pyramid scheme, but they don't realize it. Rebecca.
Yeah. People called Jeremy. That's an ick for me.
Okay, I've got a nick. I think I'm going to put through for Claire. Would you
Okay,
like to?
so we pick one.
You pick one. So I'm going to go mine first, Claire. The
Okay.
one that I am picking for you is imagining them running to pick up sweets from a piñata that's just been broken open. Like running in really excited to get the sweets just so they follow the
That's
piñata.
very specific,
It's
isn't
very
it?
specific, but I could imagine someone being like, oh, no. The excitement. I guess it's almost the standing and waiting, and then it bursts open and they rush in. And then what is yours?
Got here to be a deep fried pinata. That'd be the little bad sausages falling out. I think I've got 2 that are quite similar, but I think I'm gonna go with you heard them say amaze balls unironically.
Oh.
I don't think I've ever thought about either of them.
Okay.
Yeah. That's reasonable.
Hearing them right now, is there one that gives you a little bit of the ick more than the other?
Probably amazeballs.
Probably amazeballs. That's fair. That's an extra. That's
Yeah.
another point for you. Have you ever said amazeballs?
I think I have, but always ironically.
Yeah.
Good.
That's important to note.
I like
Yeah.
that. We're at the second time that we've ever played it, and Claire's already broken the format of the game. No, none of those. No, but that's good. So amazeballs, I think, is probably a more frequent one. But I just thought the idea of if I could imagine anyone that would have been around a piñata, because I've never been around a piñata. I think
No.
Claire, I could imagine you around a piñata. I could imagine you around a piñata at some sort of maritime fair that you would go to. You live a ridiculous life in my head that is not
Would they have a pinata at a maritime fair, like a big boat pinata?
You wouldn't think so, but yeah, big boat pinata, and then everything that falls out of it is seafood flavored sweet.
Oh, yeah, fisherman's friends coming out of the pinata.
That town, their breath is incredible.
That is the last time I'm going to a birthday party in Arbroath.
Okay, well, we found out a lot today. We found out some more icks. We found out some more silly stuff. We've got to find out about your time in comedy. If you're enjoying the show tonight, or the stream, I should say today, please stream. Why do I keep saying stream? If you're enjoying the podcast, I need to remember the word podcast.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying the podcast this week, everybody, please leave a little comment down below with your own icks so we can add them into the pile and have them in the future. And if you're enjoying the episode, please share, do all the good things. And if you'd like to come see comedy, obviously Monkey Barrel Comedy is open every night of the week. We'd love to see you along there. Now, Mile, would you have anything you would like to plug that you have coming up in the next while?
Oh, what do I have
the 18th of December.
The 18th of December. I have a bunch of podcasts. I've got one on the go at the moment called Glue Factory, which listeners to this podcast might enjoy because it's very much a formatless shit talking.
Yeah.
But I also have I have a podcast called Trash Future, which is about politics, and I have another podcast called Masters of Our Domain, which is about classics and classics related stuff.
Oh.
It used to be about Seinfeld, but we ran out of Seinfeld, so now we do like TV shows about ancient Rome and talk about why they're really bad.
What a pivot.
Because we discovered we were doing a show about Seinfeld, but we all had classics degrees, and we were like, we're probably more qualified to talk about this than we are about Seinfeld.
Have you thought of returning back to the Seinfeld, but pivoting it to Goofy Seinfeld?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Could be pretty.
George. Yeah. And I'm just generally, I'm doing stand-up all over. What is my major date that's going to be after this? Glasgow Comedy Festival.
Yes.
On March the 12th.
Oh, very good.
Check that out. I'll be
Absolutely
there.
check that out in Glasgow. GICF, I think it is.
Yeah.
So check that out. Well, thank you everybody for watching this week's episode. Hopefully we'll catch you again on another episode with another wonderful guest. A big thank you to our audio engineer Ewan, to our wonderful producer Claire, to our wonderful guest Milo. Everybody, I've been
Our
George
Amazeballs guest.
Our Amazeballs guest, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll catch you. I've been George Fox. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There's something hiding under the ice, imitation of a sound. There's something standing behind the door.